What's going on, everybody? This is G The Hypersapien, and in this video we're going to take a look at Dominion. A bit late to the Mortal Realms on this one. I know every Stormcast and his Gryph-hound has already unboxed this. Why not take a look and give you my thoughts and opinions on Dominion? Just point out that I need to work on my lighting, so I apologise for that. Some ring lights a while back so it could help work on my painting and my review videos. Unfortunately, it leaves a circular reflection on the stuff, so I need to work on it, get a diffuser or whatever. But hopefully you can look past that until we get to fix that. So I hope that you bear with me until I can afford to get some new lights. I can get some covers for them. I have been looking into covers, and some of the reviews have said that they still leave that circular reflection, which we don't want that. So we didn't have that before in the reviews, but now the lighting is better and it's more bright and you can visually see stuff more. But the glare and the reflections are something I need to work on. Thought I'd point that out to you, and hopefully you can bear with me until we sort that. But yeah, as always, let's bust this open and we'll have a look. Lift off the lid. You see this awesome Dominion artwork here. It's really detailed, like a lot of Games Workshop's artwork. This is how the box comes. You get loads of sprues. You get a lot of sprues here. Under all the sprues, you get another one of these. Obviously, this one's a bit more damaged because this had the sprues on top of it. This is what the box looks like, how it's set out. So you have the build guide and the war scrolls here. Looks like the book that will have the lore and whatnot for Dominion. And then you get this nice piece that comes up, and then you have the big bases, and then you have all the rest of the bases in this nice little baggie here. Monster is stirring. To poison a realm. So this is kind of like the lore or to lead up to what you're playing. So it doesn't look like it's too long, which is nice, just sort of to get you into the swing of things. War at Amberstone Watch. Stormcast Eternals. So I guess you get the most updated lore and what's going on with the Stormcast Eternals. Then you get the different characters or different units, which is nice. Let me know in the comments how you're going to do your Stormcast, if you do collect Stormcast, or even if you collect Crawl Boys, whichever one, or if you're painting up and collecting both. Let me know what colour schemes you're going to do. If you're going to kit bash and modify these and try and make them your own, it's going to go with what they look like, but let me know if you like this colour scheme, if you're going to do your own. So we get the Crawl Boys. So this will be their lore and story of how they came into play. So we don't have the Crawl Boys or the Auric War Clans, the new updated battle tome yet, so this will be a nice read here. Back of the War Scrolls is where the rules and all that stuff is, so this is going to be more lore. I like the way the Crawl Boys look. I'm not the biggest fan of how their legs are really puny and the torsos are really long. You mainly see it on the killer bosses. On some of the others not so much, but overall I really like the way they look. Again, if you collect Crawl Boys, how are you going to paint up your boys? Gnashtooth. The killer boss is pretty cool. As I said, it's a little bit strange how his legs are tiny. Probably would have preferred, to be honest, longer legs or more staunch legs. I really like this Swamp Cooler Shaman though. He's a really good model. The Potgrot's pretty cool, but the Shaman himself is an amazing model. I really love the Gut Rippers. Now, as you can see, their legs don't seem to have the issue as much that the killer boss had. They're stubby and shorter, but they just don't seem to be quite as bad. Even him, they don't seem quite as bad as the killer bosses. But that's me. I haven't seen the models properly built and put together. I love that the Auric War Clans are getting some good shooting now. So they've got these Bolt Boys that are meant to be quite good. We have Hobgrot Slitters. These are my least favourite for Crawl Boys. Just not feeling them that much. Seeing them on here, they don't look too bad, but I don't know. They're obviously a bit shorter than the old Hobgrots or the old Hobgoblins were in fantasy. And they obviously have this Dwarven Chaos Dwarf aesthetic. This armor looks like the old Chaos Dwarves. They used to have these high top hat armor pieces. Yeah, they're pretty cool, but it might just be the color scheme. I'm not the biggest fan of this yellowy green they do. So then we have the build guide, the different base sizes. So 25 would be for the Hobgrots, I'm guessing, and then the 32, 40, 65, and then 105. This comes in handy, this part here, just in case you pull out all your bases and you can't work it out. You can use this guide just to work out what's what. So you get some build variants, that's nice. Explanation of symbols, so if you get confused of what these are, you can always come back to this beginning of the guide and you can work out what the explanation of the symbols are. No glue required, but I'm going to be using glue. So we get a variant for the blue cog symbol, choice of parts with the shields on the yellow background, repeat process ×2, and then stage complete in the green tick. Andresta, she's really cool. I like this scenic base they give you for her. So just to point out as well, the blue is the pieces that you've stuck together, so obviously this part with her leg clicks and glues into here, and then the blue shows you the part that you previously just did, the previous step, and then all these yellow parts are where the glue or where the connections are going to go together, just so you know that. But yeah, she looks really awesome, I love that. We've got the Lord Imperator here. I like his swept back hair and his beard. But yeah, he's an awesome model, one of my favourites for the Stormcast. And then you get the Gryph-hound, which is really easy to smash together. Vexillor here with his Banner of Apotheosis. So he looks quite easy and simple. Hopefully these parts aren't too fragile, though some banners and, you know, little poles and whatnot can be quite fragile. Now it doesn't look like he gets head options, or unless I'm mistaken, looks like that is the only option you get, which is fair enough. Now with her I like both options. I'm not sure what I'm going to go. It looks a little bit like Deadpool or something though, or Baron Zemo if you've watched Falcon and Winter Soldier or you're interested in Marvel. It looks like that sort of look to it. You get the Annihilators. So the Annihilator Prime, he has the different armor, so he has this animal in the center of his armor. Praetors, and head options again, which is nice. I always like to have options so you can choose your variant. So just take a bit of time and read through and choose your parts before you put them all together. Vindictors, so you get two different head options again. The Vindictors shields, these are really awesome. Has that sort of Sigmar symbol. So yeah, these are quite easy. It shows you each line of how to put them together. Now I do like some of these helmets. I really like the top knots. I'm a fan of top knots, so that's probably why, but that top knot one's really nice. The female with the top knot is good. Yeah, it's cool how they're adding females more to Stormcast. They did before, but you can kind of see it more in these. Like the breastplate is different, has the parting in between the male chest. Has more of a breastplate for the female where it's not divided. Yeah, I really like these days. These Vindictors are really nice. As I said, some of the posing's a bit strange, but you know, we'll see it once we build and put them together. The killer boss on Great Gnashtooth. Now I've built similar models to this before, so you put the jaw into his face here, and then obviously once it's together you put the other side, which is already all attached. See it here again. Now that looks like a gargant or a giant face that's attached here. It's really cool. He looks like he's probably the most complicated, so take a little bit of time with him. But I've built stuff like this before, it's not too bad. It's just, you can see this body part that comes up into here, and you have to build that before you put the whole other side on. So they normally make you build a bit, but then the other side, the symmetrical side, is normally all complete, as you can see here and here. You can see the killer boss is on top of him here, so you build up the rest of him. It's likely recommend to leave the shield off, so it's going to cover a lot of him. Otherwise, I've had this issue with models in the past, the shields cover up too much and you can't get in here. So I'd likely leave off the head and this, but we'll see once you build it. The head might be alright, you might be able to get to all the parts here, but I'd most likely leave this shield off and then you can glue it on later with super glue or whatever. The one on foot, and then you get the stab grot. You get a swamp cooler shaman. Really love this model. I like how these are easy to build. I like that these are quite easy to build because you just can smash them together and paint them and play with them quite quickly. But I definitely am going to take my time because Auric War Clans is my main army. Take some time on these and make them look good. And Potgrot, he's simple as well, just you stack him up like the killer boss, and then you have this pot in front of him, and you have the soup or whatever he's making here. I guess it's sort of like toxins and stuff they use, possibly. Merknob with Belcher banner you can see here. He looks a little bit more complicated. Not too bad though, it's just the angles of this, like what the hell is that? What the hell is that? That's obviously his arm, and then it's a bit of a pin or whatever you want to call it. You can put it in here. It just looks like this might be a bit complicated if you don't use glue. You're going to have to put that there and then stick this front part on. Maybe when I build it, it might be a bit easier, but it just looks a bit of like head fuck basically. And then you get his banner here, this Belcher banner. The idea behind this, so this is like a tongue of a beast that he's stuck here, and it has all this toxins and poisonous sort of fumes coming off it. Now we have the man skewer bolt boys. These don't look too bad. It's almost like a stick, it looks like, and then you put the crossbow on top of it. So yeah, you get all the different variants or versions of these. Looks all quite simple. Quite a lot of it's already put together. And then you get the gut rippers. I really like the gut rippers. So these are all the gut rippers here. To choose your variant you want. So this is the gut ripper boss here. They both look really nice, but I like this design that they have here. So a lot of people say these look like Lord of the Rings, these orcs, but they actually look like old Warhammer from like first, maybe even second edition. Orcs that have these sort of helmets that come out and flay out like this with these huge spikes on them, and they had these sort of scare shields as well, which had orky looking faces on them. So it's actually sort of a nod to the past, and technically Lord of the Rings came out after that. So Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings aesthetic could have actually taken inspiration from Warhammer, like really old Warhammer and whatnot. Different fantasy like Dungeons and Dragons and Warhammer and whatever was around, and obviously used probably inspiration from a few and smashed them together. These shields, from what I know, is these shields sort of are meant to mimic the person who's holding it. So they've sort of designed these shields to look like them. So I guess it's sort of, as they show the enemy, you see this big scary looking face, but it's actually sort of meant to represent the person who's holding it. So the smiles are meant to be similar to the orc that's holding it, and the decoration is meant to sort of be reminiscent of the actual person as well. My old mates, Hobgrot Slitters. So you can choose your variant here. So this is the Hobgrot boss. So yeah, I'll just obviously, like all of us, I'll have to go through these and work out what variants I want. Now this guy is pretty cool, but I'm a bit of a sucker for the Captain Hook little claw arm thing here. This is a little bit strange, the blood coming off. You would think that he might be drinking it or something, but it looks like he's just spraying it over himself. So we'll see. You know, I might even take that blood off, but it's always different when you look at them, and then when you get the model, when you start building and clipping them apart and gluing them together, that's when you know how you want to build them. You get the Scrap Totem Bearer, Noisemaker. I really like this Hobgrot's face here, he looks cool. And then yeah, these look like they're quite simple to put together. So you get, from what I can see, has the front of the body with a leg and a foot, and then the rest of the body with the arms and then the foot. So you put all that together, and then the heads. And I believe you get 20 of these. You might get doubles, but you might get different head options possibly. So if you do get a duplicate, you could probably put a different head on them. But I mean, this is the first time I'm looking at this set, as I said. And then you get small little images of all the different stuff that you've built. And then you get the two big centerpiece models, so it's Beauty and the Beast by the look of it. Which one's the Beauty and the Beast, you can decide. Now I'm going to have to try and go through all of these sprues for you, so we won't go through everything, it'll be a bit crazy, but I'll try and show you the gist of it. So I won't go over all 20 of them, but this is the Hobgrots here. Just as I thought, seeing them on the sprue, I'm already fallen in love with them. It's their paint job, maybe it's the photography, I'm not sure, but sometimes I don't like stuff, and when I see it in person, get it in my hand, and I guess you see so much detail, I just instantly fall in love with them. It's quite strange, but if anyone knows why that is, let me know. Yeah, these actually probably sound stupid, but yeah, I really like these now all of a sudden. But yeah, they look really nice. Like, even this guy that I said that I didn't like the blood and whatnot that much, I really like him, like the parts that I didn't like before. It looks like it's a little bit flimsy though, so you have to be careful because, you know, these could break quite easily. The bodies and stuff seem sturdy, it's just these arms with these swords out. That's an awesome kit. I'm actually really keen now to build the Hobgrots and paint them. Now we're looking at some Stormcast here. These shields are really nice. Now, scale mail is something you don't always see, so it's nice that they've kind of used that on their skirt pieces. Banner pole here, like that little flag that they have. Have a look at some more Stormcast. These guys have a lot of detail in them. Well, they have belts and all these ropes wrapped around them. Just, that's amazing. These are really nice. Really nice. So I like how Stormcast is quite heavy female. It's nice to see. So Yandrasta is female, obviously that's your leader. The Sorcerer here is female, and then you get a nice mix of males and females for some of the other roles. Here and scrolls here by the look of it. Some really fine fiddly work here, so yeah, obviously it leaves for really good painters to put a lot of time and effort into them, but enough sort of big areas where if people just want to use washes to bring out some of these details they can. But just like the Crawl Boys, I'm going to take a lot of time with these. I mean, I guess I do with most armies. Maybe not so much the smaller units, but it's definitely the characters you want to take a bit more time and work on. There's this sort of aesthetic that's played out through this Stormcast a lot, where it's almost like devil horns in a way, but it's sort of like an orb with fire or energy coming off it. So I know Yandrasta has some of this on her armor, and then obviously it's sort of the theme is played over the rest of Stormcast. Really love this base though. This base is amazing. It's a really nice base. It looks like some ruins, but it's from like obviously a Stormcast church or temple or whatever. Let me know what face option you would go with. Killer Boss and the Stabgarot here. May as well look at this while we're here. So I like how you get the swamp sort of flowers. You get his foot that's on the Stormcast chest. Really like his big shield here. That's really awesome. It's really cool. It's weird how they've done the face here. So you get basically the Oryx face here, and then you obviously put the helmet and this dress part over him. Got the rest of Stormcast here. So these are the Annihilators. You got the fella with the banner, and then you got Yandrasta. If you can hear breathing and carrying on in the background, that's my dog. He doesn't want to be quiet for some reason. He wants to huff and puff. Alright, so we got, yeah, these are really nice. For the bulky boys, these are really cool. Alright, so we got our shields. They look like they're all similar. All exactly the same, just one's got his hand on there. I really like that. So it's basically, he's got this scars across his face. Really love that. And part that's in the chest piece here, it's really nice. The guy with the banner, I think is a guy, hopefully it's not female, but that's really nice. They seem to have Crawl Boy aesthetics with the bases, it seems. Like they have these reefs or these sort of swampy looking bases. But my Stormcast, I want to do sort of like a, I guess an equivalent of heaven, or really sort of nice, pure flowers and that sort of stuff. Like not sort of dark and grimy looking, some nice flowers onto their bases and whatnot like that. It's just gives me something different to do with my orcs. I'm always doing dark and grimy. It looks like she's smaller than the Annihilators, which I guess she's female and whatnot, but I just thought she might be bigger in size. Shoulder pad that looks like Sigmar's face himself. Mention it looks similar, these parts, to the Sorcerer. Has these sort of orbs with these flames coming off it. So I'm not quite sure how I want to paint her. I want to keep it similar to the lore, but I also want to have my own spin of it. So we'll see. See these wings, I just thought these wings would be a bit bigger. I don't know why, I just thought she was a bit bigger. It might be because she's standing on this huge base, scenic base here, so she has a lot of height to her. I just thought the model was a bit more staunch. Be interesting to see her standing next to a Bloodthirster or something like that though, like this angel versus demon, devil versus angel sort of vibe. Of these wings though, you can feel and even see that this has so much detail. Love this huge piece of branch that she's on as well. This little sword. Now I don't know why this squirrel, so it must be like the realm of Gur or something that they're fighting in, because this squirrel, it's like a little demonic looking angry squirrel. Where's her face at? But you can see it here. So there's Yandrasta, and she's basically got that new hairstyle females have, which was quite nice, how it's shaved, has an undercut, shaved quite high, and then a lot of times they either have it long on one side or long on both with the undercut, but you can see it's kind of folded all over to one side. Really nice, smooth female face though. The snap, you can just see that this is quite thin and fiddly and quite fragile looking. I did say that was the Stormcast over and done with, but I almost forgot about our mate here, the one with the big Griff Charger as his pelt. I think that's what it is. Anyway, I really like feathers and fur and stuff. I don't know, it's really fun to paint. It's quite easy for beginners. You can do like base colours and then dry brushing, but it looks like there's a grot stuck under all of this debris. It looks like this is all falling on top of a grot. It's a really awesome model. Anyway, enough gushing over this. And this is a swamp called a Shaman, and has this huge gargant skull, like this giant skull on his back. That's just going to be awesome to paint. He has so many of these potions. You can see this is like a pot, like a bottle of water it looks like. You've got to have your H2O on these big wire travels. This big sort of spoon that you would use to mix soup in. And just so much stuff, even so much stuff, even like Eye of Newt and Foot of Crow. Exaggerating a bit, but you get all these bits and pieces. It's so good, just so much detail in the one little area. As well, we'll have a look at in a second. So this is the hand of Mork from what I know. So these are Morkers instead of Gorkers, followers of Mork, and that's why they're meant to be a bit more stealthy and slim-lined and whatnot. Gork is Gork is obviously the more brutal one, and Mork is more cunning. Is the way they go with the Orc gods. It is a little bit strange to look at these and think they're Warhammer though. I have to say that. They're just a little bit more, they're a lot more detailed, and they're a lot different than the orcs we've seen for a good 20 years now. I love that little dude's face. That little angry pop grot. So have a quick look at our gut rippers. So yeah, these shields are really nice. I think these shields as well are meant to sort of represent Kragnos a bit. Obviously other destruction armies have their own, like say Ironjaws have their Gordrak to follow. I believe these are a little bit more followers of Kragnos, and Kragnos' return is why these have sort of been summoned. So they've, I guess, been doing their own thing in their own sort of, the swamps of Gur. They've been doing their own thing, chilling and just eating rats, I guess. And now Kragnos is back. They stepped up and gonna fight Stormcast. Be nice to paint. I really like this gut ripper boss here. So now this guy here, these remind me of Gloomspite Gits a fair bit. So that helmet, a lot of these Gloomspite Gits have these sort of helmets where they come up and they're long, pointy nosed almost. I guess this is going to go over that big chin though. Even the bow and arrows, like the case in here, even has that sort of same aesthetic as the shields have. I've never actually noticed that before. Death equivalent of Orc war clans. Like you can imagine death and vampires and zombies and all that stuff to carry all this sort of human remains, but Orcs never have as much. It looks like they have the old Oric way though. The Orics are shining through, how they have the little tongue where you put the face on top. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's an ogre. I think I might have said that was a giant when I was looking at it before. That's an ogre face. Our giant was on the Swamp Caller Shaman, the big skull of the giant. Let's have a look at this Gnash Tooth and this killer boss. Now this is a nice piece. Sort of looks a bit like Kragnos, doesn't it? Like this looks almost a little bit like a creature that Kragnos is, like a smaller version. So Kragnos is the new destruction god. He's on all four like this. He sort of has that same sort of vibe, so I might tie them in together. I did say I was going to do this like a hyena, but I might paint him like Kragnos, like a mini Kragnos in a way. You can see all these, it's not a nice creature of those, that it's got all these boils and pimples and stuff on it. So it looks like it's the same sort of ruins Yandrasta's on, so they've definitely made this box look like they're versing each other. You have the same sort of plants and whatnot all throughout. I really like his face though. So this is what I mentioned, how it's got hands. This is what I mentioned before, how it's got hands and whatnot stitched onto this, so it looks like it's an actual skin from an arm or something there. Have a look at the Gnash Tooth. Have a look at the Gnash Tooth there. It looks really cool. What a weird looking creature. It's almost like a pig mixed with a canine, mixed with like a fish. I don't know, there's a lot going on there. It's cool. That's an elf face, that's awesome. But yeah, that's the sprue for the Crawl Boys. Sigmar core book. Now you get this nice image of Yandrasta on the front cover. It's really nice. You can see her that basically she's been summoned and she's coming down and she's fighting these demonic entities and she's cutting through with the lightning and her sword and her spear. Really nice book, jam-packed, it's huge and heavy, jam-packed with lore and painting guides and obviously how to play. You get a copy from Dominion. You don't have text and whatnot on the cover, which, you know, you might like it with the text, you might like it without. But yeah, it's a huge book, loads of great Warhammer art like always. Warhammer does some incredible artwork, it always has. It's nice to see the Crawl Boys get in love, or some Oryx. That's your painting guide. It goes through the Age of Myth here, goes through the powers of chaos. So you get some lore on Archaon, the Dominion of Chaos. Then you get the Age of Sigmar, the Realm Gate Wars, Soul Wars, which was the previous huge battle in the lore, when the lore was basically all around death. Then it goes into some of Broken Realms, stories and lore around Broken Realms, has Be'lakor, has Kragnos, the new destruction god. Now it has some lore for all the different factions and teams. So we've got Khorne, Zenith, Nurgle, Slaanesh, Skaven, that covers all the chaos. And it goes into death. Now it goes into destruction. Gloomspite Gits, Orc War Clans, so that's Bone Splitters, Iron Jaws, and now Crawl Boys, Ogre Moor Tribes, Sons of Behemoth. Then it has all the rules. Now that's a lot that you're going to have to look into. lots of pages. But yeah, overall this is, I believe this is a lot bigger than the last core book that we had. It's really heavy actually, you could almost do some lifting with this. Do you even lift, bro? Awesome book, it's jam-packed full of lore and artwork and all that nice stuff that we're used to from Games Workshop. Nice Dominion came with this, and obviously you can buy it separately if you don't get Dominion. I thought I'd quickly flip through this. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because the video is already long enough. Always, this was G The Hypersapien, and I appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.